The world can be one together, cosmos without hatred, stars like diamonds in your eyes. The ground can be space, 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 with feet marching towards a peaceful sky.
Pumpkin has become a coach. Or no, wait, the coach has become a pumpkin.
Yes.
How are you going to run drills if your coach is a pumpkin? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and the glass slipper is... I'm a little ways out from... I don't remember the plot to Cinderella very well.
You don't?
The guy, she goes out... She's got some sisters. Is this the Drew Barrymore one, or is this... Which one is this?
Yeah.
Or did they just remade it, didn't they, with the chick from Baby Driver?
Yeah.
Have we talked? Oh, we're going to talk about it. Save it.
Okay.
Save it for a little later, right?
Yeah.
It's a full show. It's a full show today.
Yes.
In this of our last, technically a post CVG, last day of CVG, and also our show for the week.
Yes.
Get it all done at once.
That's right.
The single sort recycling of podcasts. That's us. The Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
And CONvergence 2017 is over.
That's right.
We survived, barely.
We did.
Did we?
We did.
It could be one of those scenarios where we go for a while until we get a peanut butter sandwich, and then we realize there's no milk, and, we're in hell. Or like at Beetlejuice, the football players, they're like, I don't think we survived that crash. Yeah, what was your first clue? Yeah. But that's where we are. We did survive, and we're back to bring you all the news that's fit to cast in the world of nerdy entertainment. If you're joining us for the first time, a CVG attendee, welcome to the show. If you just wandered in off the street, welcome to the show as well, and I hope that you were entertained. Like I said, it's going to be a thick and full show today.
Yes.
All the layers on a Dagwood sandwich, because we're going to talk about our experiences at CVG. The last day, Sunday, which is a lighter day, but we have a couple things we want to say specifically about it. We're also going to recap some of our favorite moments from CONvergence 2017.
Yeah.
And then it's on to what we usually do. We're going to talk about a little bit of news. We are going to review a couple films. Spider-Man Homecoming. Mm-hmm. This is our spoiler review of Spider-Man Homecoming. We had a non-spoiler review, which seems like forever ago.
Yeah.
10 days ago?
Something like that.
A week or 10 days. But we are going to be talking about that. Also, we have our Craft Disservices segment. We'll be talking about 1996's Multiplicity.
That's right.
Why? Because of a stupid cross-promotion.
Michael Keaton.
Because Michael Keaton is in Multiplicity. Yeah, exactly. Seems like Michael Keaton has been coming back for his entire career. So we're going to talk about his 1996 comeback, the film Multiplicity.
Yes.
44% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not near the bottom of what we usually cover on Craft Disservices.
No.
That is to say, films that are 49% or lower. I think I've started saying 50% or lower because I really want to fit Lerner and Lowe's Camelot in there someday.
Sure.
When we do musicals, but it is technically 49% or lower. Can you get 0 on Rotten Tomatoes? I think you can, can't you?
That would be pretty tough.
I think when it seems like that's the insult they always hurl at like really bad movies, like Bucky Wants to Be a Porn Star or whatever that Nick Swartzen movie is. Like it was 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, blah blah blah. So
sure,
yeah. So we're going 49-0. This one's at 44. Really, the cream of the crop for the kind of films we cover. And I thought we'd talk a little bit, maybe not a full review. We'll talk a little bit about Baby Driver.
Okay.
Just because. Are you right?
Yeah.
Nerdy.
Yes.
Ask. Did you have fun at the show?
I had a lot of fun at the show.
Tell me about the fun you had at the show.
I really liked our interview with Norman Cates. That was pretty cool.
Yes.
We kind of got the VIP treatment ourselves, in a way.
Are you giving the story away here?
A little bit.
Why don't we tell the story now?
Okay.
And then we will, let's cut the news short. Let's just talk about one or two things, and then we can just go right to our interview with Norman Cates.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sure. So, are you telling the story?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So we approached Norman after one of his panels, and he said, well, I have another panel really soon here, and I have to eat, so why don't you just come up to the 7th floor with me? And we're like, okay. So he goes to the front of the line at the elevator, and somebody there was like, no, he can do that because he's a guest of honor.
Yeah, we got VIP'd.
Yeah.
Right
and
past the rope.
He waved us with, he's like, they're with me.
Right, yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and to be, somebody steps in front of me in line, as somebody actually did at, Caribou or something? Something this weekend. Like, there's me and another guy in this line, and some lady just literally just walked right in front of us. And I looked at the guy, and he looked at me. We must have been similar guys, because we were just both like, neither of us is brave enough to say anything,
something.
but we're both too disgusted to remain. So we both just walked out and just didn't get any coffee. So anyway, that's me. But yeah, I mean, everybody was really cool about it that was already waiting in line.
Yeah.
And I was like, sorry, it's not, we're really not that important, but I guess it's kind of important. Yeah, but he took us up to the 7th floor, and I don't know anything about how, what's it called, guests or whatever, however that department is run, as far as the CONCOM goes. But apparently they have people who attend to the guests of honor.
Yes.
And they set up in the business center or activity room, party room on each floor, and give them pizza.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that he was getting out of a panel at 6. He had 6 to 7 free, and then he was going to go to something else at 7.
Yes.
And so to talk with us, that would cut into his mealtime. So yeah, so we just went up there, and we sat down in the room on the 7th floor, and he had pizza luce. We didn't.
No, we didn't.
It's not for us.
No.
But it would have been nice to have some. And then while we're sitting there, kind of small talking, we're small talking a little bit, but I'm trying not to say a lot to him because
you want to make sure
I don't. Yeah, I want everything in the interview, so I felt a little uncomfortable. But yeah, we just chatted about it being his first time, him being on like so many panels and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that technically he's probably the most expensive guest.
Sure.
Because I think he's coming in from the farthest.
Yes.
But he more than made up for that. Like, he
Yeah.
worked it off. He did a lot of things.
He did.
And we had a great chat with him. And just let's go right to it. Here it is. We're talking to Norman Cates. You had not been to CONvergence before this weekend.
Correct.
And you were saying that you really liked fan cons. I mean, what's the difference in your mind between the fan con and the sort of corporate con or business con?
To me, dare I say, a fan con is much more about interacting with people. Mm-hmm. It's much more about sitting down talking, especially the guests to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. There's here you do have the guests just wandering past, and you can just have a quick chat or whatever.
Right.
Obviously, they have places to be, but it's not like they're walled off and in a garden or something.
Right. And the whole transaction is getting to get to pass the rope to see them. Yeah. Yeah.
Which and the thing is, I don't begrudge anyone that going to the gate shows, I call them, because that is sometimes the only opportunity you have to see a favored actor, but their actors partly what they make money on is their face, so they get paid.
Sure.
And also, actors tend to get lots of people around them. There's a lot of swarming around them.
Right.
So actors tend to be a lot more difficult. I can wander through and nobody swarms me. I have nice conversations with people.
Sure.
But, I'm not.
Right. Nobody says, hey, it's Fatty Bulger.
No, exactly.
Right.
Not yet. One day, maybe.
What have you seen or done so far at the show? You've been on a couple panels, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I think at this point I've been on 8 or 9 panels.
Oh, gosh.
Something like that.
By right now, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah,
okay. Wow.
I'm a sucker. But the thing is, I do enjoy talking. I like talking to people. I like, giving my opinion.
Sure.
But also one of the things I really enjoy about panels when you're on with other people is that you get a chance to find out what they think as well. Mm-hmm. And I think every panel I learn something new, which is great. So it's not just me giving. There's one panel I've done which is about Weta Digital and the work that we're doing or that we do there, which is just me, and that's fine. That's quite tiring because it is literally on for an hour.
Yeah,
and then let's go have a lie down.
Right.
But yeah, no, I really enjoy just talking about things that that interest me, obviously, and hopefully I can contribute interesting information. And I have to say, one of the reasons to do panels for me is that you then sit down and have to do some research, or you should do some research, really.
Right.
And so I usually learn something new while I'm doing that. And and so far the moderators here I think have been very good. They keep it flowing and include the panelists and then get the audience in. So it's really good.
I've really enjoyed seeing a couple very civil disagreements.
Right.
It isn't like a panel has to be harumph. It's, some people says, well, I don't really agree with that, and here's why.
Yeah.
You did that, sort of civilly disagreed on the Dune panel, and the system can survive that, because of the great moderators.
Well, it has, but it has to anyway.
Sure.
I mean, if we're
I've been to some panels, at other cons or even here, where
Yeah.
it was just that was it for the panel. These two were going to argue about something for the entire time.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, is that once you've expressed your opinion, that's fine. People in the audience might not agree with you.
Right.
That's I was on a panel talking about space opera, and we all had somewhat different ideas, and but that's fine. The thing is, something like space opera is really hard to pin down anyway. So
Sure.
I don't think anybody would be expecting an answer out of that.
Sure. On that topic, what do you define space opera as?
Well, I kind of come at space opera as being grand but melodramatic in a good way. Especially in space, it's got to be multi-system for me. It's got to spread across multiple solar systems.
Okay, sure.
Having said that, shows like The Expanse I would consider to be space opera, but they're definitely, at least the show itself, is not multi-system at the moment. So it's not. That's the thing, though. It's not hard and fast.
Yeah.
But it needs a sense of grandness.
Sure.
And I think we kind of agreed that possibly the more important aspect of space opera is just a sense of grandeur and something that's mind-blowing in it, as opposed to just being simple and just being prosaic and ordinary.
Sure. Are you watching The Expanse right now?
Oh yeah.
When you watch,
Oh, yeah.
when you watch something like that, do you first of all do you go, "Oh, I wish I could"? This seems like a good job. Like I want to work on this show. Do you pick apart the things at all? Do you notice? Oh, I see what they did there. Can you turn your brain off when you're watching effects like that?
Often, the thing is, if the story's good enough,
Yeah.
then you don't care.
Sure.
And usually nowadays, the visual effects should never be that bad. If the visual effects in something is bad enough that you notice it as being a bad visual effect, then they've really failed.
They've not done their job well.
Yeah.
We were talking on the show a little earlier about the Mummy 2, where The Rock appears as the Scorpion King.
Yep.
Now everybody talks about how that is not, what was the movie, 1999, maybe 2000? That is not that level CGI. Like, what happens in a situation like that, if you could speculate?
Maybe not enough time. Just maybe the technology kind of wasn't there, because they were creating a human character effectively, even though it was on a scorpion body.
Right.
Because the thing is, I don't think anybody complained particularly about the scorpion part of it.
It was the
but
fact
it was
that
the look of The Rock.
Yeah.
As the Scorpion King.
Right.
And it was in the Uncanny Valley. And nobody believed it as a character.
And that would have been done with like motion capture, right?
Not sure. No, actually, back then, I don't think they had very much in the way of facial motion capture, for instance.
Okay.
So, and when was it? I actually can't remember exactly
99,
when it was.
2000,
Yeah, so there's definitely motion capture for doing body motion capture, but facial motion capture was not really a thing.
Not the little dots that you see now.
No. But again, I have to say that things like that can be done. It just takes a long time to do, to get all the little tiny expressions right and get the face looking correct.
Yeah.
So effectively, they ran out of time.
Okay. You don't have a story about how you know that guy.
No. No. I am speculating wildly.
Sure,
And I hope
sure.
that nobody is upset about that.
And everybody walked away okay from that. So, I mean, The Rock's certainly a big thing now. I was going to ask you, I've heard that you knew you wanted to do SFX from a young age.
Yeah.
Why?
Partly, I think, because of the sense of grandeur. And in science fiction, Return of the Jedi, for instance, is, I think, one of the first films I remember seeing in the cinema.
Okay.
Actually in the cinema. And that's Star Wars, I think, qualifies as space opera.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But also, I was very interested in prosthetics, makeup and changing people's faces and just making all that change to someone. Part of it's an acting thing. I enjoy acting as well. But it was definitely trying to reproduce the kind of amazing things that I've saw in the movies. And it's kind of progressed a bit in that, I definitely have moved on to other aspects, like from prosthetics to digital. But I'm now much more interested in what the story is and how the film actually works as a film. Okay. So I love good visual effects and I love great prosthetics. I still do them, but it's actually much more significant to me is this actually a good story and a good movie?
Sure. That should be paramount.
It should be.
Would you recommend the route that you took, or if you had any advice to give to somebody who wanted to do what you do?
So I'm largely self-taught out of books
Sure.
and so on. And I was pretty motivated to buy plaster and make molds of people and practice on people. I joined a science fiction club, and they let me do that to them.
Okay, good. I was worried about your cat.
Yeah, no, not the cat. But you know what? That can work, but it's slow. But you can also do makeup courses nowadays, of course. You can go to school somewhere and do full-on prosthetic makeup. You can do courses for digital animation. And in a way, that's fine. That can actually get you into an environment where you need to do projects, and that's very valuable. Because actually, the most important thing is to produce the work.
Okay.
If you're in a position and have the mindset of being able to find out the information yourself off YouTube, off books, because YouTube has an awful lot of this stuff nowadays.
Yeah, it really is.
And if you're in a mindset where you can go through and you can do your own projects and actually make stuff, then you can do that. You can learn how to do those things on your own. You have to be prepared for failures.
Sure.
But the point is, you have to produce the work. All anyone's looking for in a portfolio is, have you done the work? Nobody particularly cares about what course you've done. They don't care what school you went to.
Sure.
You can come from some famous art academy,
Right.
but if you can't produce design or paintings that look to what they need,
Sure.
you aren't going to get the job.
Sure.
If you can, it doesn't matter if you were in some town in the middle of a plain somewhere.
Right.
Does not matter at all.
This guy's kind of a hayseed, but he's really good.
Oh, yeah.
And then you worked for Weta, famously on the Lord of the Rings films, probably making a lot of feet and ears, I would think.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's very much, certainly in the makeup and also then into the digital, it was very much, I guess, seat of the pants.
Okay.
Because this was certainly the biggest project that those companies had handled.
Yeah.
And, it's down to the excellent production work of both the companies that we got it all done.
Sure.
And scheduling and how all that worked. But yeah, it was definitely you making things up as you go.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah. So it was. There was a certain vitality and fizz to it all.
Okay.
Particularly since it was Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yeah.
But I worked on those films for effectively 4.5 years until the end of Return of the King.
Sure.
And during all that time, things solidified, and you have to get better pipelines because you are having now to produce 2,000 shots for Return of the King.
Right.
And then, but yeah, there's still a sense of sort of people making it up and having not having fun with it, but it was pioneering kind of thing.
Okay.
And of course, it wasn't particularly pioneering in that people were able to do this, and people obviously came in from overseas and were working with us and working for the company. But certainly, from my point of view, it was very exciting.
Sure.
And now, as time goes on, things get more, I guess I want to say corporate, but things are more solidified. And
Yeah.
it's less, there's less of the let's strike off in this direction because somebody's already over there doing that.
Right. Yeah. I was on a panel about The Wrath of Khan the other night, and it sort of reminded me of a similar situation where ILM is in its sort of nascent stages, and they're just just trying things out. There's the scene in Wrath of Khan where you see what the Genesis missile sort of does.
Yep.
And, they created this, and supposedly it took more computing power than existed in Britain at the time to make these computer graphics, but it was sort of they wanted to make it good for the film, but they're also like, check this out, we could do this for you. It was a kind of a commercial for their company.
Yep.
And it worked because Steve Jobs bought them and turned them into Pixar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You're a LARPer, is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
How did you get into that?
I've kind of been dabbling around the edges for quite a few years, but then about 8, 9 years ago, something like that, someone came over from the UK who'd done a lot of LARPing, and we became friends. And he basically said, I came over. He said, I found this LARP in Auckland. I want to go to it, and do you want to come with me? And I was at a time in my life where I was like, so I decided to say yes to more things.
Okay.
And that was one of the things I said yes to.
And you were on for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and because that's one of those things as well, because you can use there's opportunity to make things. I made shields, made costumes, created characters. So it's so it's actually, there's a lot of really creative aspects to it as well, which is really helpful for having deadlines.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like it's right up your alley. And you said you had a theater background, or you are an actor?
Well, I like acting. I wouldn't consider myself a professional
Well,
actor.
if you act, you're an actor.
Yeah. But I've done musicals and amateur musicals,
Sure.
light operatic, and done prosthetics for some of them. Like there was a Frankenstein the Panto. I did some prosthetics for that.
Sure.
And but also worked behind stage and directed some plays as well.
Oh, great. Okay. Do you ever get cast because they're like, we're going to need some props and stuff? Get Norman in there. What's the LARPing culture like in New Zealand? Like, I don't know if you could know how to compare it. Like, if you're familiar with what it is in America, but is it strong? Is there a lot of people that do it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're smaller, but there's NZ LARPs is the kind of the New Zealand organization for LARPing, which is kind of an overarching organization just to help people run LARPs. And there's a few different ways you can do that. And I don't know what the membership is, but I want to say like 250 people kind of thing. And that's not everyone not everyone who LARPs is a member, which is fine.
Sure.
There are certain advantages to it, but it's definitely going through growing stages and pains as well, because you wind up with people wanting to run games and there aren't enough people, or you have a lot of people and there aren't enough games.
Okay.
We had a big campaign that was supposed to have like the final game around about this time of year, or maybe a few months before now, and due to it was very big, it was very logistically difficult, and there was also there were difficulties in working the game through, and I had some problems with it, and but eventually they cancelled it.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, okay.
And that's about 200. That was about a 200-person game.
Okay.
And they put an awful lot of work into it.
Sure.
And I'm never going to argue with someone who puts in an awful lot of work something, because that's what the whole idea is. I want people to create things. But that's definitely one of those things where I think we learned a lot about, as a community, about how to support a LARP, but also what a LARP should be supplying, and what it can actually, how you set expectations for things as well.
Yeah.
So it's painful, but it's also been valuable. And I'm currently playing in a Musketeers LARP.
Really?
Which has had two games now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's so neat. Swordplay is involved, clearly.
Yeah.
So is it more focused on interaction and acting then? Because you're not throwing spells at each other or something like that. It's
it's basically set
intrigue
in the world. Yes.
Okay.
Intrigue, romance, swashing buckles.
I could really get into that.
Yeah.
I could swash some buckles.
Yeah. No, it's a really good, fun game. It's a bit lighthearted. It's sort of trying to keep it a bit. There's significant stuff in there, but it's definitely meant to be in the fun realm, in the swashbuckling, and a bit like the Three Musketeers.
The Richard Lester movies?
Well, any of them actually, because
Sure.
I think all of the Three Musketeers movies or the TV series are all very much
Yeah.
about, being dashing and
Right.
running around the place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we want to let you get back to the con here, but I wanted to ask you before we go about the effort to bring WorldCon to New Zealand in 2020.
So, in 2010, basically got pushed over the cliff to try and organize a WorldCon in New Zealand. Now, this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, like since 2004. But there's kind of a good push because it's all very well saying, I want to run a WorldCon, but until you actually do it,
All right.
because it's a difficult thing.
Sure.
And so we've been gathering supporting memberships, which is basically, I don't know if your audience are familiar with WorldCons, but pre-supporting memberships are basically a Kickstarter. So it gives you money to run the advertising and run parties and go and have parties at conventions to publicize it. So at the moment we are trying, there's some boring legal stuff we're working through, as has to be done, and we are making sure we're locking down our venues to make sure that we can run the event. We're estimating about 2,000 people, maybe 2,500, because those are about the numbers that Australia had in 2010.
Oh, okay.
And this is, of course, a similar part of the world.
Sure.
And New Zealand, we completely concede, is a long way to go, and it's expensive to get here.
But still, it's New Zealand.
Yes.
When you talk about LARPing in New Zealand, I have this mental image of guys like going through the Lord of the Rings. But you guys have public parks just like we do. So
yeah, but usually we are out in like a scout camp.
you drive really?
Yeah,
just way out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's for like the weekend games.
Sure,
So,
right.
so
Not
if you're
just
only
the
doing like a
pickup game.
3-hour game,
Yeah, right.
something, then yes, there are some very great parks in Auckland certainly, and some parks in Wellington. But Wellington's much more up and down.
Okay.
Auckland has a lot more flat spaces.
Oh yeah, sure. Everything is flat here in Minnesota. So, well, I want to thank you for sharing your time with us today.
No problem. Thank you very much.
And have a great...
can I just one little plug?
Please do.
The website for New Zealand 2020 is nzin2020.org.
Sure.
And we've got a little bit more information there. We'll be at Helsinki in this year, which is the WorldCon in Finland this year. If anyone who's listening wants to catch up with us there, if they're going, but otherwise the website has information on it.
Okay, and people should check that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So nice. Such
so
a nice
nice,
guy.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't think he was going to be mean, but I'm just saying.
He was really nice.
Yeah, he was. And I love his enthusiasm because the way that he talks about what he does, to me, it feels... we know it's a passion of his, but it feels kind of hard won, too.
Yeah.
Because he's like, he loves doing what he does, but he's also like serious about it. He's like,
absolutely.
I worked at it. I got to where he's proud of where he is. He's proud, and he should be, of his accomplishments and where he's come to. I also did think it was funny about the LARP thing. We maybe should have got into that a little more, but I still picture, you're LARPing in New Zealand?
Yes.
It's just like sweeping helicopter panning shot of a bunch of people, in robes, like throwing bags of birdseed at each other, and mountain range in the background. It's amazing. Up against orcs in full makeup and everything, just doing the whole thing. Toothbrush fence in the background. But it's great to talk to him, and I hope he comes back.
I hope he does too.
It's a long way.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll have to be focusing on getting WorldCon to show up in New Zealand in 2020.
Yeah. That sounds pretty exciting to me too.
God, wouldn't you like to go?
I would love to go.
Oh man, me too.
But it's also in New Zealand, so...
Hey, I'll tell you what. Here's our plan. You and I will get super famous within the next 3 years. We'll get invited to WorldCon. It's taken care of.
Oh.
We'll do the Norman Cates side. And then once we get there, we will work our asses off and tap dance to make sure people get their money's worth.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, but if you want to check that out, it is New Zealand in 2020 at nzin2020.org.
All right.
Or if you want to flip that over, it's NZIN to not. Is that right? Either one of those will work. Go check it out and see if you can help out to get WorldCon to New Zealand in 2020.
All right.
And thanks again to Norman Cates for sitting down with us.
Yes.
Let's go to the news. Let's get into the news. If you hear the sound, hopefully slightly, of an air conditioner or fan in the background, Give us a break. It's really hot.
It's very hot.
It's super hot, and we're just trying to get this done. So while CVG was going on, some really, really bad news came through, and it's something that I saw, and I just didn't know what to do about. Like, we had no ability to really talk about it.
Sure.
But we'll talk about it now. Joan Lee, the wife of Stan Lee, died on Thursday, or last Thursday, at the age of 95.
Yeah.
This is just really, really tragic. They had been married for 70 years. They got married in 1947.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
It's a long, long time.
Yeah. That's, yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, it
is.
They were very happily married and loved each other a lot. And there's a documentary called, what's it called?
I don't know what it's called.
It's like With Great Power, the Stan Lee story, I think it is.
Something like that.
Yeah, that goes through his life and kind of like how I invented the Fantastic Four or whatever it is. And,
right.
But she's all over that as well because it's they had one of those relationships where they just, they spent every single day together,
right.
A Paul and Linda McCartney type situation. But they were the OGs. They beat Paul and Linda.
Right.
And we're together for so long. I think that she had complications. She had a stroke earlier in the week.
Okay.
And so that was kind of it. But just really sad. The story of how they met is really funny because I guess she was British.
Okay.
And she was a model. She was like a hat model. And I kind of want to tell the whole story in my Stan Lee, but I'm going to get my Stan Lee arrest out of respect. I did a little bit before. And she had married like an American GI just impulsively, I guess.
Okay.
It was the end of the war, and there's just all these GIs around. And I guess, maybe she didn't like her life. She was very young. And so she married this guy, and they moved to New York, and she was miserable. Like, she just didn't like the guy. They didn't get along. She, was in another country. And so Stan Lee tells a story about how he used to, when he drew, he always drew like the same woman. Like, he drew a woman that looked like a certain thing. It was his ideal of what a girl should look like,
Sure.
his perfect girl. And a friend of his said, go over to this place, like this hat store, this like hat company, and they have these like models there. There's this girl there named Betty. She's super hot. Go ask her out on a date.
Sure.
And so he goes there, he knocks on the door, and Betty doesn't answer. Joan answers.
Okay.
But he sees her, and he realizes, this is the girl that I've been drawing. Like, she looks like that. And she's got an English accent, and I love English accents. So he took her out to lunch, and they kind of hit it off. And so now Joan's got to get divorced from her other husband, the guy that she's with and doesn't like. And so they moved to, like, in those days, like, when you went to, like, Reno or something like that, if you stayed there for 6 weeks, you have residency, and then you can get a real easy, like, divorce. Because back then it was really hard to get a divorce.
Sure.
Maybe that's why they stayed together for so long. So they went there, and they got that set up, like a judge granted the divorce, and then, like, an hour later, like, in the next room,
They got married.
Yeah, that's like the
wow.
judge, and then picks up his sign, walks to the next room, flips it around, justice of the peace, and they got married, and they'd been together ever since.
That's great.
All through the time when he, they moved back to New York, and he was working for Timely Comics, and later, in Atlas, and he was writing romance comics and stuff like that. And at that point, he was miserable too as well, and he was like, I want to do something else. I want to, make something amazing that people are going to remember, something spectacular.
Right.
And he had to write all this comics that he didn't like writing, and he credits her. She told him that just write one thing. Like, if you're going to quit anyway, if it's not working, write one thing that you would want to write, whether or not people are going to like it.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I came up with the Fantastic Four. That's where the Fantastic Four came from. And
That's
so
great.
we all have her to thank in a large part for all of this, what we just did for 4 days.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, she also was a writer herself. She had a novel, and she actually had a couple novels. She had one published. And she did a couple voice cameos in a couple of animated Marvel shows, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
Well, that's fun.
It's just, it's a love story for the ages. It's really sad, and our condolences go out to Stan and his family and her family.
Yeah.
And if you want to, see them kind of in action, I would check out that With Great Power documentary, because they are a super cute couple, and they clearly loved each other very, very much.
She's going to be greatly missed.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know what we should talk about after that. I mean, there's been a couple stories here and there. Did you know that the New Warriors show has been cast now?
Oh, okay.
Yes. And, of course, the big deal is who's going to play Squirrel Girl.
Who is going to play Squirrel Girl?
Well, if you got a problem with your cell phone service, she can defeat it.
Okay.
It's going to be Melania Weintraub, the
Who's
AT&T
that?
girl.
Okay.
You may have also seen her in Other Space.
Oh, yeah.
Netflix's Love. She's that girl.
Okay.
She's the brunette.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, this is okay. I think some people are going to be upset that Barb isn't playing her, though.
Yep, that would have been real great.
Yeah.
That would have been real great.
It seems like they could have gone more with like a how do you say it?
How you say? You're being delicate.
I am being delicate.
Defeat political correctness and just say what you want to say.
Like a
Rounder.
yes.
Melania's not like a stick.
No, she's not. But
Or Milana. Excuse me.
she's
Am I saying her
not
name wrong?
super curvaceous necessarily
She
either.
is kind of curvaceous. Enough talking about her body. Let's talk about the other members of the cast.
Okay.
So Derek, and I don't know who any of these people are. I'm just reading their names. Derek Thieler is playing blah blah blah, Mr. Immortal, who I guess he was in Baby Daddy.
Okay.
That's a movie. Also, Jeremy Tardy is Night Thrasher. Callum Worthy, that sounds kind of familiar, is Speedball. Matthew Moy is Microbe. And Kate Comer is Debris.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, hopefully it'll be good.
Hopefully it will. It's being executive produced by Jeff Loeb, as per usual, and Jim Chory. And, yeah, I hope it is going to be good. Again, this is kind of like... I don't think this isn't like a classic New Warriors lineup. You know, I think they're just
Right.
kind of throwing... It's because, you know, Mr. Immortal and Squirrel Girl is Great Lakes Avengers.
Right.
So maybe we'll get a Flat Man or something like that. And I hope it has that. If you couldn't... Maybe they, for branding reasons, they can't use the Avengers name.
Maybe.
But I hope that they make it... I think that'll be a good choice.
Yes.
We don't need another S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No.
Like, be funny.
Exactly.
Like Powerless, but funny.
Right.
Ooh,
Snap.
No, it's not that much of a snap. But anyway, yeah, so I think that would be good. Here's the thing. Let's talk about... we need to talk about Barb.
Okay.
That actress, I know that she's on Riverdale right now, so
Okay.
she's working. What if she's not that good?
That's possible.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, why don't they just cast Barb? What if Barb is out there, pounding pavement, knocking on doors, auditioning like a madman, or mad woman in this case, and people are like, okay, no. Like, what if she's not that good?
That's a possibility.
You get that with young actors sometimes. I mean, everybody on Teen Wolf or whatever the CW show is, and my apologies if you really love Teen Wolf, but, you know, they're young, they're good looking, they can hit their mark, but, you know, they're just kids.
Right.
You get, as you age and have experience, you get better and better. You become like an actor. So we're expecting a lot of these, you know, younger people. I don't know how old Milana is. I think that she's probably older than you'd think.
Sure.
But I think she has that, you know, whatever that it quality is. Like,
Sure.
she's sort of ahead of the pack. Like, she has even though she does a lot of comedy, she has the sort of range and the bag of tools that an actor needs to do stuff. So
I think you're right.
maybe Barb. We still don't. The fact that we don't know her name is not
We
good.
just call her Barb.
Yeah, that's first of all, that's not very good.
No.
Branding, the chick that died in Stranger Things, like, she needs a better branding than that.
Yeah.
I saw a great Barb cosplay at CONvergence.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's
in fact,
awesome.
it was one of those things where I was walking out of a panel room and I saw the person and I was like, it looked exactly like the actress
Okay.
from the show. And I was like, wait a minute, what?
That's cool.
She's not.
She's not
Is she at
here.
CONvergence?
Yeah.
You should get her.
Yeah.
good get.
Make her do that in costume and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, right. We'll kill her like on Thursday, and then she never comes back.
No.
Terrible. Terrible. I think that's pretty much it. I wanted to say really, like I said, not much news to talk about today, but Michael Keaton has confirmed, who we'll be talking about later, has confirmed that he will be acting in Dumbo.
Okay.
Tim Burton's live-action Dumbo, reuniting, of course, with Tim Burton since the first time since Batman.
All right. I wonder what he's going to play, like a ringmaster or something.
Isn't Danny DeVito going to be...
Oh,
Wasn't that our...
yeah, that's right.
That was
Never
our
mind.
theory, but we don't really know. The rumor is that he's going to be playing a villain named Vandermeer, who is a exploitative circus owner.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he's just going through a slew of villains right now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what an older guy does.
Okay.
An older actor.
All right.
Because, when Hugh Laurie is in movies, sure, he could be the fun dad.
Sure.
He's like, well, tell me your trouble, sport. But he's not. He's like well, we'll see. Maybe I'll drown you in a bathtub or something.
Right.
Like that. Yeah. The Peter Wellers, the Michael Keatons, the Hugh Lauries, that's your lot. Until you get really old and the Just for Men's not working anymore, and then you can be like a nice grandpa.
Okay.
Or if you're Anthony Hopkins, you can apparently just be a badass in like the Transformers film. He's like in the Transformers film a lot.
That's so crazy.
And is like part of the action. So
yeah.
Fun. Never going to see those.
No.
I was thinking about we should grab movie guru Tara and bring her in and maybe just do a Transformers movie show.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That seems terrifying.
It seems like a bad idea in disguise.
Yeah, it does.
So coming up later on the show, we've got our review of both Baby Driver and Spider-Man, two movies that have opened recently. Also, we'll be talking about our Craft Disservices selection, which is, of course, Multiplicity, starring Michael Keaton, and Andy McDowell.
That's right.
Save it. We'll get there. Save it. But first, let's talk about CONvergence. What happened on Sunday? Anything fun? No. The answer is no. Here's what we did. We were at our table all day long.
Most of the time.
We had our drawing. We finished our drawing for the geeky prizes and mugs and the Rick and Morty Monopoly set that we had to give away. And everybody got their stuff and seemed very happy with it.
Yes.
And so that went off without a hitch. You were mostly taking care of that. You were in charge of that, and you did a great job.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I think that was pretty fun. We probably I put a thing in on the Facebook group, like the CONvergence Facebook group, maybe like 90 minutes, an hour before we drew, saying, hey, free stuff. People just came in droves. We got like most of our... So I should have... Lesson learned. Maybe do that intermittently
right
throughout the
away.
week. Yeah, next time.
Yeah. We did a couple of interviews on Thursday.
Saturday?
Sunday.
Or Sunday?
Wow.
Whatever day.
Whatever day it was.
Yeah, this last day.
We spoke to Patrick Tomlinson. Over Angry Robot, their booth.
Yeah. He said that his new book, which comes out August 1st, by the way, I can't remember the title. I think it's got Children of something in the title. But anyway, it's the Children of Dead Earth series. He actually got some advanced copies. I don't know if they were like galley copies or just preview copies, but he was selling them at the booth. And yeah, so check that book out. You can find him at Patrick S. Tomlinson. I'm gonna fact check that. You talk about the next thing.
Oh, okay. We talked to Cam Banks as well. He's a game designer. And
yeah, great guy, local guy.
Yeah. Although not originally local, he's originally from New Zealand. And so that went really well.
Yeah, it is Patrick S. Tomlinson.
Okay.
No H, Tom, yada, yada, yada. So you can find out more about his stuff there. Yeah, not as many interviews as we did on Saturday. A lot of interviews. Nobody wants to hear about that. They want to hear the interviews. So if you want to hear those interviews with more than over a dozen different guests and guests of honor from the show.
Yes.
Stay tuned to our show for future shows about that show. But let's talk about your favorite things. Like, I thought maybe intellectually I came up with this idea. We'd do like maybe our top 5 things.
Okay.
Or at least just 5 really great things that happened.
All right.
So I'm going to give you mine first. I would say, and we've kind of already covered it, the talking to Norman Cates.
Yeah.
That was really great.
Yes.
Our VIP experience. but also just not, like, I didn't think he was, I knew he was going to be nice, but I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
You know, I had a lot of questions about SFX and just, you know, his working on cons and things like that. And he was just open and just a great guy to talk to. And not that we've, like, really had to wrestle some interviews out of people. Everybody's really nice, but
right.
It just stood out for me. How about you?
It stood out for me, too. That was actually one of mine.
Oh, that's not fair. All right, fine. Say something nice about him.
He was very kind and inclusive.
I saw him help a lame puppy. Yeah, he was very kind. Let's say my next one would be going to the Cassini Probe panel or presentation by Bridget Landry.
All right.
Of JPL, and her just giving a summary of the 13-year mission of Cassini. And I think specifically the section where she talks about them looking, making discoveries about Enceladus, the frozen moon of Saturn, and talking about, you know, so this has been discovered a couple years ago, but, you know, kind of releasing to us in real time the way that they would have discovered this sort of thing.
Sure.
Like, we know that cryovolcanism exists on some of Saturn's moons, and, you know, we knew that Enceladus was ice and probably had like a water ocean, but just her going through the steps of them finding these strange formations, like these cracks, and then checking them out by infrared, and it was clear that they were like very hot. And she was like, "What's in there?" And I'm turning to you and I was like, Satan's sleeping in there. But and then finding out and then seeing like plumes, so something is coming out of it. And eventually they just took the craft and went, and I asked her about this. When you're dealing with like a, you know, $900 million spacecraft or whatever,
right?
How do you balance between being prudent and being like, just like exploring, you know,
right.
Let's just run this barrel off Niagara Falls and see what happens. And they did it. They just drove the thing like through the plumes, and it's like, oh, it's salt. It's salt water.
Right.
That's how the water is liquid and is able to do this, because it's a salty ocean. So
right.
I just thought that was, the space geek in me really loved that.
Yeah, that was really great. I really liked the Harry Potter cabana room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did a really great job on decorations, and also their selection of drinks. You had like some kind of pumpkin drink,
yeah.
And then I had a butterbeer, and the butterbeer tasted pretty much exactly as you would picture it, like a melted butterscotch. So,
right. Where's the beer though?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just very impressed by that. So I think they did a good job. And they also were very diligent about checking IDs. So
yeah,
I thought that was good.
They should have put a hat on you or something when they did that. Like, legal drinking age. I thought that the Women's Comic Book Club panel that we went to was awesome.
Yeah.
Here's why. I go to CONvergence for experiences like this. So it takes place at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it is called The Rise of Women's Comic Book Clubs. And it was Jordan West, does that sound right? Jordan
yes.
somebody, and Katie Rex, who is
yeah.
a local artist. No, she's a writer, comic book writer.
Yeah.
And they both run comic book clubs, local ones for women.
Yeah.
So we go to this thing. We get there 5-10 minutes early because I'm going to live tweet it for the CONvergence Live
right.
the Twitter feed. And Jordan tells us, it's canceled because I don't think it's just me. We couldn't
right.
get any other panelists, so we're going to cancel it. Okay, fine. So we cancel it. We're walking out, and we see some other women walking in. Feels like it's not canceled.
Yeah.
So we turn back around, and it seems like it's not canceled now. No, I've already Facebook messaged my boss, the head of social media for CONvergence that this thing is canceled, so she can give the slot to somebody else.
Right.
Then I re-text her and say, it's back on. And she's like, so we sit down. We're going to do this panel. It's you and me and 2 other women there. And then 2 panelists.
Yes.
In the Amos room or whatever of the Sheraton.
Yes.
At 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. They start up. They go, well, thanks, everybody. Thanks. I know we're sort of small here, but we appreciate you coming here to talk about the rise of women's comic book clubs. And one of the audience members, that's not you or I, raises her hand and says, I thought this was for women's book clubs. And I'm like, we are now in the middle of a train wreck. And I'm live tweeting it, baby. I can't wait. But my schadenfreude was not completely satisfied because the 2 hosts really took it in stride and basically spent, 90 seconds going, well, comics are books too. And I'm like, just keep going. That's a dumb argument. Just keep going. Just do the panel. We'll be fine. And they did. They did the panel. They had a lot of great recommendations. There was one woman there who's an older woman. She kind of seemed into it. There's another woman that was a sort of younger woman. She had a million questions. There were a lot of great suggestions by the panel. They explained the sort of ethos of their groups and inclusion, and they were talking about how they're trying to get as many people in as they can, and they're LGBT all the way down the alphabet friendly. And here's the kicker of the story: we're about halfway done. Chris Jones comes walking in.
I know.
So now we are at a panel with 2 other people, and it's a panel that apparently Chris Jones has decided to attend.
Yes.
Now, I don't know how he makes that. I think how busy he is.
I know.
And he went, I got an hour free. I'm going to this panel.
I know.
Now, sure, Katie Rex, his company mate on Titan Comics, was there. But
sure.
So yeah, he was there, and he had some questions, and there's a dialogue between him and the panelists, and that's why I come here. That's why I do this, for moments like that. That was great.
I really liked the monster panel that we went to. I thought that the panelists were all had very good ideas and different ideas about what makes a great monster. Mm-hmm. And I also really enjoyed that Shannon McGuire took the time to talk about Sailor Moon and how Sailor Saturn is kind of a monster. And yet she is also, Chibiusa's friend. And it's also like, oh, this could be anybody. This monster could be anybody. But we know, the audience knows who it is. Yeah. But they don't.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed that as well.
I think that another of my favorite moments was the Jodorowsky's Dune panel.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. I had no business being on that panel. I am a fan of Hodo's work, and I love that documentary. But it turned into a really fun thing because, if we really wanted to get sort of meta about it, we could, the panel itself could not exist.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, we could sell this panel and how great it is, tell everybody about it, and then there's no actual panel.
Yeah.
And then we could get together and, write a thing about what we wanted to talk about on the panel and, distribute that.
Sure.
Anyway, too deep. So, yeah, but it was just basically about this documentary. If you don't know about it, it's 2013's Jodorowsky's Dune. It's about Alejandro Jodorowsky's trying to make Dune, Frank Herbert's book, and the crazy process that he went through to try and get it made, and the amazing roster of talent that he assembled to get this thing made. If this had been made, it would be the Beatles of film at the time.
Sure.
Or what have you, like an all-star team. And it didn't get made because it was too weird, and he's a weirdo, and it's weird. But the people that he assembled went out to make other amazing sci-fi films. Like, he got Dan O'Bannon and H.R. Giger together.
Right.
And what did we get from that?
Aliens.
Alien Covenant.
And, yeah.
We got a franchise that won't die. But yes, we got 1979's Alien. And he got he hooked up with Mobius,
right,
a comic artist, and they went off to make comic books where he used some of his ideas for the film that didn't get used.
Sure.
And so, yeah, that was just really neat. There's a lot of people there with a lot of great questions and discussions about this just interesting filmmaker. There was a woman that came up to me after the panel and asked me about whether or not I knew if the story was true that Hodo has a lot of like mother imagery in his films.
Okay.
It's kind of an obsession for him. And about whether he seems to be sort of a fantasist, you know?
Sure.
I mean, he's a storyteller.
Yeah.
But he told this story in an interview about how he was the product of rape, like his father raped his mother. But then he seemed to back off of the story. And whether I knew that all that was true or not. And if she's listening, I still don't know, but I do know on the internet that it's on his bio, it's in Wikipedia, like as far as we know. The story as he tells it, that's what happened.
Right.
So, there you go.
Oh, that's
Person whose name I don't know.
disturbing.
But anyway, yeah, it's a mystery. You know, the whole thing is a sort of amazing mystery play, of fantasy and weirdness and película. I got to do my Alejandro a little bit, my impression.
Yeah.
But instead of actually doing it, it kind of became a bit in the panel about me wanting to do it and not doing it because Gary, who's also on the panel, wouldn't let me, which is much better than me doing it. Anything else?
I really enjoyed the odd-numbered Star Trek Curse panel that you were on.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was a good one. I felt like everybody had some good ideas and were defending the films, which I think is not an easy thing to do. Especially it was, 5. Is kind of rough. But I thought everybody in the room really enjoyed the panel and was receptive to it, and it was a good time.
Okay. What was that, Thursday?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that now.
Yeah.
Seems like a million years ago.
It was a while ago.
I think my last one would be the the successive storytelling improv game that I forced 4 people to play over the course of the recording of the live episode of Enterprising Individuals. On every episode of Enterprising Individuals, I have the guest give usually a 25-word synopsis. If it's a 2-part episode, they get 50. A synopsis of the action of the episode. Some people come prepared. I've actually had people beforehand write and plan out a 25-word synopsis.
Oh, wow.
And then just get it up there. And some people just go for it and try to get close. And some people just give me like a full-on selling the story in the room, like synopsis, breakdown of the thing. But I limited them each to 1 word a piece in 6 sort of rounds. So it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, and then I give the last word.
Right.
And it was not bad. It was not bad. And the best part, the audience loved it. And the best part was you'd get one person kind of stuck, and the next person's like, just think about it, don't worry, and then just say whatever. And they say something, which gives them nowhere to go. And now it's that person's turn, and they're like,
right.
And it's like, just think about it. Don't think about it. Just do it. That was really fun. And I'll tell you right now, articles and prepositions are your friend in the story building game.
Definitely.
Yeah. You throw or conjunctions as well.
Yes.
Or a the or an of in there.
Yeah.
It's like a skip turn. Just go right past me. How about you?
I think my last one is going to be your live panel. The Enterprising Individuals live panel.
Sure.
That was a lot of fun. I got to record the Facebook Live portion of that.
Yeah.
And people seemed enthusiastic and enjoyed the show. So
great.
Yeah.
Well, that is available on our Facebook page. If you scroll through our feed, probably not too far down, you can find our live video of the Enterprising Individuals live panel from CVG 2017.
Yeah.
Would do again going next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Absolutely.
For dreams. It's a fantasy dream theme.
Something about dreams. This is terrible.
Didn't we do a Midsummer Night's Dream like 2 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
I know.
All right. Well, we'll be dreaming until then. Let's give people what they want. A Baby Driver review. No, people really want a Spider-Man review, but we got to get through Baby Driver. We got to drive to the Spider-Man review.
Okay.
Baby Driver is a film by Edgar Wright. It is directed and written by Edgar Wright. It's probably his first movie ever, except for Scott Pilgrim and maybe some student films, but probably even those to not feature at least Simon Pegg, if not Nick Frost.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising that he doesn't have him in this.
Well, his buddy is writing Star Trek movies now, so he busy.
That's true.
What happens in this film?
Baby Driver is a heist driver. So he's the getaway car, basically. It's about him coming to terms with the fact that he doesn't want to do this anymore, but he's being forced to do another job. And he really doesn't want to do it, but he does it anyways. And then he kind of messes it up.
And there's a lot of criminals that he deals with who sort of screw things up as he already wants to get out of the life.
Right.
And hijinks, as they say, ensue.
Yes.
Octane-fueled hijinks.
Yes.
With a Motown soundtrack.
That's right.
Underneath.
You gotta remember the soundtrack.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I got the balls to say I don't like it. If you go on Metacritic, it's sitting at 86%, above Spider-Man Homecoming at 73%. There are no negative reviews from critics on the Metascore. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't like it. I don't think it's that great.
No.
There is an element of it's not for you. Okay, fine, sure. I don't think it's for a lot of people. Like, I can't imagine a general audience getting really excited about this film. There was a story, a couple of years back when Drive came out about people wanting refunds or like suing the production company of Drive because there wasn't enough driving in it.
Yes.
Like they thought it was a Fast and Furious film.
Sure.
Because they don't know what the name Nicholas Winding Refn suggests. Here's what it suggests. It suggests 86 minutes of complete, obtuse, empty, multicolored garbage cotton candy. Pseudo-intellectual. That's not this movie. I think it's mostly a finely made movie. I just feel like it's, except for it's combining, like a musical, basically. It's like La La Land meets a heist film, but like not a real good one.
Right.
Like one that, Tarantino was like, yeah, it's not one of my favorite films.
It seems just kind of empty.
It has all of its elements we've just seen everywhere before.
Yeah.
It has a lot of things that aren't even like stolen and then improved upon. They're just sort of taken.
Yeah.
And like Taken. Which is Taken is held up by the Liam Neeson.
Right.
But and his nose. But yeah, Anson Elgort, the titular Baby Driver, is he's kind of zero.
Yeah.
And again, he's how old is he? Probably early 20s.
Something like that.
I don't expect him to be like an amazing performer at this point, but to hang a whole movie on him, it's not working.
No, it's not. And then also like John Hamm, I don't know.
Well, he's walking away from this unscathed. Well, nobody has to walk away unscathed. Everybody loves this stupid movie, but people are really saying he did a really good job.
Yeah.
And my thing is, doesn't John Hamm just do the same thing in every film? Isn't he just really tired and needs a nap in like every film? And then sometimes he's got a gun and sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a briefcase.
Yes.
I thought his wife or girlfriend or whatever was awful.
She was awful.
And she was written not at all either. Like she's just, a mall, a gangster mall, basically.
None of the women in this film are written.
No, there aren't any women in this film. No, like if Baby Driver falls in love with Lily James's character. Why? Because they have like a 5-minute conversation. Actually, it's way more than 5 minutes, but because they have a conversation about music and she can kind of keep up with them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cute. Like, why is she the girl of his dreams?
That's it exactly.
Yeah.
And she works at the diner that his mom used to work at.
Yeah. Convenient.
So, I don't know. Does she remind him of his mom?
Yeah. She has no life outside of. We never learn anything about her except she also likes Baby. And here's how we know. Because she looks like if she's like flirting at 11, or she's doing that thing that movies do sometimes where a character is looking at another character they love and they're like, they've got like their eyes are sparkling and they're big grin on her face, and her face is cracking. Her grin is so... Lily James, we understand. We get what you're putting out. I always thought that her character on Downton was a little annoying, but that was sort of the character. Like, that character is like very big and sort of guileless and a little bit self-absorbed because she's a princess or whatever. I didn't know that was... She just does that for everything. And it's also one of those things, maybe, again, we're just talking about youth and inexperience. Maybe she's just bringing that to every role now, and she'll hit a role at some point where somebody goes, try to do a little something else.
Right.
But I just didn't feel like Edgar Wright really directed the performances in this film. As for a car chase film, there is not a lot of car chasing.
No, there's
kind of
not.
wanted a little. I can't believe I'm asking for more dumb car chases, but I kind of expected a little more of that. And I felt even the premise, which has already been done in Hudson Hawk, that you would time a heist or a robbery or a criminal act to a song,
right,
has been done in Hudson Hawk, was done better in Hudson Hawk. Like, there's the fun little thing at the beginning where he's dancing and he's coordinating the wipers and stuff, and like, I'm watching this. This is a crime movie. If Tarantino was like, hey, it's a little much. It's too much. But they even that just gets dropped. Like halfway through, we don't even do that anymore. And it's not like he's got like, I got this one. This is the song. This is the best song ever. It's Carry On My Wayward Son. That'd be a long heist.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And it's like, this is the get out of jail free thing. If I put this in, I'm going to be able to drive and run and jump and get away from the bad guys. No, the last action sequence or a couple action sequences are just sort of soundtrack with maybe little slices of an old song in it, or they find the key, that an old song is in, and it's just like dan 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 dan, like any old action movie is.
Yeah.
And they dropped that completely. And I thought that was what was on sale here. I thought that was the whole thing.
Right. That it was going to be like an action heist musical type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Recommend?
I would not recommend.
I recommend it.
Oh, really?
I don't like it, and I've told you why it's not good, but everybody loves it. So if you want to enjoy yourself, and it's because I am cast off and different from all men, I am different to them because I don't like this, absolutely go see this. You're probably going to love it. But I think as far as a Edgar Wright movie goes, he's always been referential, but in a meta way. He's taken the meta out, and now he's just referencing and stealing things, and it doesn't work unless it's self-aware.
Right.
And the movie's very not self-aware.
It's not.
It also features the most insecure criminals who have ever crimed. Because
true.
Baby Driver, in an effort to, I guess, seem cool, or maybe they just didn't want to write any dialogue for him, or maybe Elgort wasn't delivering it or something, he just sits there in the heist and just listens to his music. Which is a big point of contention for some people, like Jamie Foxx. He didn't like that at all.
No.
And then so everybody comes over and is like, hey, what's up, nerd? You just listen to your things, huh? Not talking, huh? Look, I'm talking to you! I'm talking to you! I'm talking to you! Come on, man. I need you to please recognize me. Please acknowledge my presence. Like, these criminals flip out. They're like when you look at your dog and you don't go, good boy.
Right.
You don't say that. You just look at your dog. Your dog's like, hey, yeah, I see you're looking at me. Why are you looking at me? The dog starts to get a little nervous. Dog looks behind it as if maybe you're
yes.
There's something behind it that you can't see that you're looking at, and then it's like, and it's like, they start jumping up and down this whole time, face completely blank. Babies do that too.
Yeah.
And in this case, Baby Drivers. We're talking about Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes.
It's directed by John Watts, who directed the indie movie Cop Car.
Okay.
That's about it.
Never heard of Cop Car
That's
before.
about it. Kevin Bacon's in it.
Okay.
Amazingly, this movie was written by 6 different people.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's usually a real bad sign. It was written by Jonathan Goldstein, John Watts himself, Christopher Ford, Chris McKenna, Eric Summers, and John Francis Daly. John Francis Daly you'll remember as Sam from the Freaks and Geeks show.
Yes.
And he is now a producer and a writer himself. And he wrote like the Ed Helms Vacation movie. Look, don't hold that against him. But anyway, seems like a good guy, though, to put into a high school comedy.
Yeah.
What happens in Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Well, Spider-Man comes across some bad guys that are moving some alien tech type weapons, and he tries to stop them. and the guy that's ahead of that is the Vulture. And Peter keeps getting himself in trouble because he is getting himself in over his head trying to fight these guys. And Iron Man has to come and save him.
When are they going to put that Death Star together?
I know.
That's what I want to know. Apparently everybody else wanted to know last Christmas for a Star Wars movie. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I just noticed the poster has Zendaya on it, who plays Michelle.
Okay.
But doesn't have the other girl.
Oh.
Who's the
Liz
romantic
on it?
interest? Yeah. So Liz, played by I don't know her name. Laura something. Laura Herring? Or is that a
Okay.
different person? Anyway, that tells you something.
Yeah.
Why even pretend? Well, anyway, this movie does. That's a great plot summary. I think that we need to call out the fact that Michael Keaton plays a contractor in both this film and the film we'll be talking about in a little
that's
bit.
true.
Multiplicity. Yeah. And for the rest of this, I don't know. I don't want to go more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but we're just going to spoil stuff now. We're going to talk about spoilers.
Yeah.
You had your fun. If you want a non-spoiler review, check out last week's show. So Vulture dies. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't. I was amazingly impressed by this film. For somebody who did not like the Webb films, could kind of take or leave the Raimi films a lot of the time. I thought there was good elements and not good elements.
Right.
I was blown away. And don't get me wrong. Yes, the Raimi films have a lot of character. This does feel like a very glossily packaged, Marvel Cinematic Studios product.
Right.
It's got charm, but not that kind of scrappy charm. It's got charm
Polished
like
charm.
Exactly. Like I was going to say Tom Cruise charm.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit in that. And but that being said, what a fantastic film! What a funny film! What a touching film in places. Although it doesn't get too bogged down in emotionality or emotionalness or the adjective that describes the quality of emotion. Because Uncle Ben's not in it.
That's true.
He's not even mentioned, and there's no origin story. We just get right into it.
I like that there's no origin story, and that his best friend keeps asking him questions once he finds out that he's Spider-Man. He's like, "So you got bit by a spider?" And he's just very enthusiastic, and almost too much so. He keeps asking him questions during class and everything.
Yeah, but this movie draws a lot on the history of high school comedies. There's a very explicit Ferris Bueller's Day Off reference that I think everybody gets by now or knows about. But just also that idea of it's like the Teen Wolf thing. Like Michael J. Fox is Teen Wolf, Styles finds out that he's Teen Wolf, and then Styles says something like, Scotty can do something. It's like, Styles, shut up. You get that same scene where what's his name? I've seen the movie twice. Why can't I remember his name? It says, Peter knows Spider-Man.
Right.
And people are like, oh, really? He's like, well, okay, don't tell anybody. Ned.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ned.
and then they go to a party. They go to a high school party where things happen. Like, it's a high school movie.
Yeah.
They could have easily just had, people talk about how like Ant-Man is like a heist movie only with superheroes, but he's got a superhero, he's got a girlfriend, he's got, a person or team of people that he talks to and helps him out. His guy's in the chair, if you will. Like, this was much more a high school film than I thought Ant-Man was.
Yeah.
A heist film.
No, I would agree with that.
Heist school. Anyone can have that wants it. Or maybe not. I'll do that. I'll do something like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely a high school film, and it's got a lot of charm. It
has charm, but it has charm because there's a lack of charm because they specifically take the polish out. Like if you go to look at Amazon I don't know if this sentence is going. If you watch Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2, it is a high school, if they're ever in school, filled with 27-year-olds
Right.
in designer clothing. And this gets rid of that, and they specifically, and they mine it for comedy too, use like awkward young kids to do stuff. So there's the kids on the Quiz Bowl team or whatever.
Yes.
The kid who
Rings a bell.
always hits the bell before he talks. And you've got the Channel 1 sort of like school news updates.
Yeah.
And the kids are like awkwardly, delivering exposition. Like, what a fun way to give exposition. And you've got just stuff like the moment where the bad guy's coming to Peter's school and he runs off, and then Ned standing there and a kid behind a window is like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, we're just hanging out. What are you doing?" The kids, chess. They're just playing chess. That's just that's great. That's what we were looking for. We want that sort of awkwardness,
Right.
And if you can't do it with a movie star, because our movie star is Peter Parker, he's got to be a leading man, even if he's a leading boy.
Right.
He's going to be good looking, even though he's in a nerdy sweater or something like that. But they push a lot of the nerdiness that Peter Parker should have off onto the supporting staff, and it gives us this general idea of awkwardness and kids being weird in school.
Right.
Which has always been the metaphor. Your body's going through changes. We get it. You're shooting white stuff. We got it. Never heard that before?
No.
First time? Hands are sticky. We got it.
Oh gosh.
Take over, please.
I thought Aunt May was pretty great too.
They've really leaned into this Aunt May is hot thing.
Yeah, they have. They're at a Thai restaurant like early on, and they like give her a dessert on the house, and Peter's like, "Well, I think that they're into you."
I think he larbs you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's almost like Aunt May doesn't realize
They were eating larb just for that. I mean, who goes?
I know.
Is larb anybody's favorite, or does everybody just get the lettuce wraps, and the noodles,
Right.
and
The pad thai.
Yeah, right. But they had larb specifically so they could do that.
Yes.
Make that line.
Exactly.
But that was fun. And there's just the movie is full of accents and grace notes like that.
Yeah.
We see Peter being Spider-Man and being... It's funny because if this was in the 80s, there would absolutely be somebody raping somebody in Central Park, you know what I mean? Or like there would be, all right, old lady, give me a wallet. Switchblade comes out. I'm not saying there's no crime or violence in New York, but post-Giuliani New York, what is there a Spider-Man to do? What's he going to do? So he goes around a lot, like after school.
Catch a bike thief.
Yeah, and he catches a bike thief, but then can't return the bike. And he just is hanging out, and the hot dog stand guy's like, "Hey, do a flip." And he does a flip. He's like, "Hey, that's a good flip."
Yeah.
Like, Spider-Man, everybody. Apparently, there's a guy behind that guy in that scene.
Yeah.
Looks, he's kind of shabby. Looks like a homeless guy, and he's got a boombox that's played by the same guy who had the boombox on the bus in Star Trek 4. That's the same guy.
That's crazy.
Moving from San Francisco to New York, took everything he had. Made it to Queens. Now couldn't get any farther. He was going to Russia, but that's as far as he got. So I thought that was interesting. Otherwise, I don't know what else to say. The specific plot, I think, really works. We talked about how Michael Keaton he's again a contractor, and he's really underwritten, as a lot of villains are. I think he's got a clear, understandable motivation, and one of those that, again, I commend the screenwriters for not beating things into us, but there are parallels between him and Spider-Man, and nobody ever says, "We're not so different, you and I."
Yeah, goodness.
We get a speech like that at the end that is revealed to be just buying time, because he's kind of going like, "Peter, I kind of get it. You seem like a nice guy. Before I thought, who's this asshole? But now I understand." And Peter's not going to go, "All right, well, I guess I'll leave you alone." That's never going to happen.
No.
But the Vulture doesn't care, because he's just waiting for his wings to come so he can attack Peter.
Right.
But he gives him this whole talk about how, like, the people up there, they take from us, and we eat scraps and get what we can. And it reflects the fact that, Peter is not wealthy. He is poor.
Yeah.
They even downgraded their apartment because they had a really nice apartment in Queens, I guess. They showed the buildings, like the project-type buildings, and then cut to really nice apartment. Well, the apartment's a little more rustic in this one. Apparently they moved after Civil War.
Oh, okay.
And Yeah, but he gives him the whole talk, and it made me think of like Peter was digging in dumpsters at the beginning of Civil War.
Yeah.
And now that's what the Vulture's doing. He is grabbing the junk and the detritus from all these superhero battles as a kind of evil damage control. Like damage control exists to get this stuff.
Right.
But they're feeding off of damage control. And so it's just, there's the idea of bottom feeders and literally being a vulture.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's the kind of like interconnectedness and like internal structure that generally doesn't come from 6 writers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the best movie I've seen with 6 writers since Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And one of those guys was really drunk. So yeah. If there's anything specific you want to call out about it, I think we can move on. Any moments or what about a big complaint?
A big complaint. I don't know that I have a big complaint about this film. It's very enjoyable. I guess my biggest complaint would be that Vulture is underwritten, and also I feel like the love interest is a little underwritten as well.
Yeah.
And not completely necessary to the film.
I think it's necessary because it helps show that theme
It
of
does
him
help.
being a kid. Because Spider-Man's life has always been about sacrifice. People say, he gets beat up as Peter Parker, but he gets to be powerful and have fun as Spider-Man. It's like, no, being Spider-Man kind of sucks too.
Yeah.
He has to do that because he let a guy kill his uncle.
Right.
So he has to do this.
Yeah.
And it would be so hard for a kid to do this. But he's already taken on this adult responsibility, and they show him being a kid so much. I like the fact that he wants more. He feels like he's being held back. And yet, even though we're on his side and we agree that it seems like he's being neglected, we find out later every message that he sends, every voicemail he leaves with Happy or whatever, is making it to Tony.
Yes.
They know what's going on.
Yes.
He tells them about the weapons guys. They don't call him back, but Iron Man calls the FBI. Let the FBI handle it. That's what they do.
Right.
So they're always there. Like it's like being a kid. Like you feel like there's too much control, but your parents hopefully are taking care of you and always watching you.
Right.
The other side of that coin is that he feels illegitimate, as a kid and wants to prove himself, and he's seen that way too because Tony doesn't take him super seriously until he blows up a ferry and almost gets people killed. And even once the Vulture learns the secret about him, it becomes this, I got to defeat this arch nemesis to like, all right, kid, get out of here.
Right.
This is adult stuff, all right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go in there, you're going to have some fun, and if I ever see you around again, get off my lawn, kid.
Yeah.
And he totally underestimates him.
Yeah, he does.
Because of that, because, Peter learns that they find probably the best way I could think of to adapt that scene from, is it Amazing Spider-Man 33, the one where he has to lift the thing off of himself?
I'm not sure.
This famous scene, where he's trapped in this underwater lair. Don't worry about it, because he needs to get this serum because Aunt May has, some disease. So he defeats Doc Ock, and then he's got it, but this thing falls on him, and if he doesn't, lift this thing, if this be my destiny, if he doesn't get this thing off of him and get the medicine Aunt May, she's going to die. And there's it goes on for 4 panels. They did this in the old Marvel style where Ditko just draws it and then Stan writes the words in. And Ditko's like, this needs to be a big deal. We need to see Spider-Man really learn something about himself.
Really struggling.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's there and he can't get this thing off of himself, and they adapt that, I thought, really well to the film because you really...
Yeah.
All that shit falls on him, and he starts screaming for help, and you're like, he's a kid. This is a little kid.
Yeah.
Why is he doing this? And we still don't know because we don't have an Uncle Ben.
Right.
I mean, we assume it's there, but...
Right.
But then he sees his reflection in what's kind of a cheesy effect, but is also a reference to seeing half of his face and seeing half of the Spider-Man face, which is an old motif, in the comics.
Sure.
And he realizes that nobody's going to get him out of this except for him.
Yeah.
And he gets out of it.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah. It's really awesome.
Well, and I think it's great. I think it's important that Tony takes the suit away. And I think he needs to take the suit away. But then I like that we
Yeah,
get
a
to
guy
see...
who was never anything until he had a suit takes your suit away.
Right, I know.
Nice, Tony.
But I like that we get to see his old suit and that
Yeah.
it's still functional, even though it's not that high tech.
Well, it's not at all. It's some gym shorts.
Right.
It's a onesie.
Exactly.
It's not a onesie.
But he has web shooters.
And I would have liked to have seen some spider sense too.
That would have been nice.
There's enough. He accomplishes enough things that you can easily assume that it exists. There's an explicit sort of scene in Civil War where he's like trash talking Falcon or whatever, and then he's like, "Ooh," and he sort of moves out of the way, and a big piece of metal like
Right.
goes through where he was. And so there's enough things like that to, yeah, I mean, I think he's got spider sense.
Yeah.
But they're just not hammering it home and doing a full Gap commercial 360 camera thing with a paper airplane and the lunch tray or whatever. Like, we're not hitting it really hard.
Right.
And I read an interview that said, like, the director specifically didn't mention spider sense because they had this plot line with the suit
Sure.
where he talks to the suit, voiced by Jennifer Connelly. Get it? Which I thought was cute, but I would have traded the suit for some spider sense probably.
You think so?
Bokeem Woodbine couldn't jack him in the parking lot. Like,
Yeah.
how did that work? You can't be surprised by the shocker when you've got spider sense.
I know.
He's just a kid. Him and Barb and everybody else. The theme of this show is immaturity.
They're just kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked how he was videotaping everything at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
Yeah.
And he was really
Queens.
excited about it.
Yeah, it's a rough borough, but it's home. He does a lot of silly voices.
Yes, he does.
So, recommend.
I'd absolutely 100% recommend
You've
this.
already seen it. You're going to see it, or you have. Or you're seeing it again. Yeah, definitely see it. 3D do anything for you?
Not really.
Nah, not me either.
So
It's
I
about the
could
same.
take or leave it.
Yeah. I also miss the fact that he's not called a menace. He causes so much property damage in this film. Like,
He does.
It's a perfect subplot, which might come in the second one, where all the mistakes that he makes as a hero, destroying outdoor barbecues and like,
Right.
smashing wood tool sheds and stuff like that. It's perfect for people to be like, yeah, I saved the city. Yeah, I did it. And they're like, menace destroys Queens neighborhood at 3 a.m.
Right.
Yeah. But you can't do menace without a J. Jonah Jameson.
No, you really can't.
Yeah.
And he hates that Spider-Man.
It certainly does. I do not envy the person who has to cast that now.
No.
That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
Well, from immaturity to maturity, that is the problems of life, work, and love. This is a better intro than this movie deserves. We're going to talk about Multiplicity, a 1996 comedy directed by Harold Ramis. You heard me. Starring Michael Keaton and Andie MacDowell. What happens in Multiplicity?
Basically, Michael Keaton's character is overworked. And he meets this one scientist guy who's like, I think I
As
can
you
help
do.
you out. Yeah. And so he's like, I can clone you, and then you can have more time and to do the things that you need to do. So he clones himself. So then there's two of them, and then the clone has to live in the guest house type place.
Right.
And the clone goes to work for him, and then he takes care of the kids, which ends up being a full-time job in itself, and he feels overworked. So then he gets another clone to help out with the kids, and then somewhere in there, one of the clones gets a clone. So then you have a copy of a copy, and it's not so good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there are 4 of him, basically.
Yeah.
And hilarity ensues, basically.
If only that were true. Like we said, it's 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a budget of $45 million. How?
I have no idea.
Special effects, I guess.
I guess.
And you've got, because the movie is 85% Michael Keaton talking to himself.
That's true.
It's like a set of one.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe he got like an increased payday because he had to play 4 different roles?
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
could be.
I'm not sure how that would work as far as guild rules go. It was written by, see, we got 5 people, so this shouldn't surprise you. It's from a short story by Chris Miller, apparently, and also written by him. He worked on, a lot of people on this worked on National Lampoon stuff.
Okay.
So he worked on Animal House, I believe. Mary Hale, Harold Ramis almost, he did contribute to the screenplay. Reportedly wrote up to 40% of the screenplay.
Okay.
And there was a little bit of a controversy because according to guild rules, you have to write at least like 50% for your name to be on the thing.
Oh.
So he rewrote large portions of it but didn't get credit just because
Okay.
that's how it works. Yeah. And then also by Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel, who are longtime writing partners and have written a lot of things you'd know.
Okay.
Good and bad. Like, for example, they wrote Spies Like Us. Actually, not a good way to start because that is a good and bad movie. They wrote Parenthood, which a lot of
Okay.
people really like. But they also wrote Father's Day,
Okay.
which I don't think you even know what that is.
No, I don't.
That's the Robin Williams and Billy Crystal movie
Oh.
where they find out they're fathers or whatever. Or they're both the father. They got to figure out
They're
who's the real
both
father.
the father.
It's dumb. Billy Crystal was also in Forget Paris, which they wrote. So, it's just like, they're just comedy, just grinding them out.
Sure.
Grinding them out. And that's something I wanted to say about this film, which came out in 1996. You don't see this kind of film anymore. This is kind of one of those grinded out comedy films.
Yeah.
Because now you need a premise. We're going to have bam, 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 joke, 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 or we're going to have lots of butts or something. Or it's just going to be, this is the old style of like, we're going to get a funny guy, i.e. Robin Williams or Billy Crystal, or too late, I think, Ray Romano. I think he tried to make a movie like this in like Welcome to Mooseport and then never made another movie ever again.
Sure.
Where it just put a funny guy in there. There really aren't a lot of jokes, but we like watching a funny guy be funny.
Right.
And this is probably like one of the last films where you could really get away with that. And I'm not sure this movie does.
I'm not entirely sure it does either.
Tell me more about it.
It basically, nobody knows that he's created these clones, so that's where the comedy comes from.
I heard the quotes.
Yeah. His wife has no idea. His kids have no idea. His work doesn't understand, so...
And Harris Yulin plays the doctor who clones him. And at least there's a connection because Doug, his character's name is Doug Kinney, who was named after somebody... I think I remember that name from like... It's one of the guys at the Lampoon, basically.
Okay.
It's a reference to something. Anyway, he's a contractor and he's doing some remodeling on this scientific institute.
Right.
So while he's there, he runs into Harris Yulin's character, who's the doctor, who introduces him to his clone. And
Right.
they've got this setup where one guy works, I assume not all the time, but works while the other guy gets to hang out and have fun.
Right.
And they split it like that. My thing is, yeah, but you guys have to split a paycheck.
Yeah, that's true.
That was always my thing. You make another Doug, and then another and another. They have to eat. You're spending more money on food.
That's true.
And you have to split your paycheck 4 ways now. Sure, you're making more money because you're taking more jobs on.
Right.
But it's a conservation of energy and money here, right?
That's a very good point.
But anyway, so, yeah, I like the fact that he's not even that freaked out. Like you have an initial sort of like, kind of thing for Michael Keaton, but then it's like, yeah, okay, so you make another guy, fine.
Right.
And they clone him, and they're both hanging out, and the one guy's like, oh, nice clone. And it's like, you're the clone. Michael Keaton. I'm not the clone. He's the clone.
Right.
And they show him, no, you have a little 2 behind your ear. You're the clone. He's like, oh, wow, okay, I'm the clone.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there, and it's like, so where'd you grow up? If you like that joke, you'll like this movie. It's that kind of like really underwhelmed by what's happening, sort of subtle humor, take it all in stride sort of thing.
Right.
There was a scene that could be great, and it's not. And it's too bad. Where, like you said, they've got this going now. So it turns out that the number 2, the first clone, is... Probably should just be 1. I guess he's Doug 2.
Yeah.
He's a real workaholic, and he's a real kind of alpha type guy.
Yeah.
And so he goes off and he immediately takes over like Doug's job, and Doug's like, all right, fine, I guess I'll just do stuff. Then he goes and Mr. Moms it for a day. This movie's a lot like Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
It is.
It compares unfavorably to Mr. Mom, sadly. And he's too much for him. He fed the baby chili, the vacuum cleaner ate the whoopee. It's not working out. So he takes Andy McDowell, who has decided that she's going to go back to work, and he's supported this. He takes her out to a nice dinner and tells her, I don't think you can go back to work. You got to take care of these kids. And she doesn't like that at all.
No.
While they're having this argument, he looks over and he sees number 2.
Number 2.
Or I think Lance, as he's later called in the film, who is out with a woman from work.
Yes.
And that's one of my questions. So they don't love Laura anymore?
I think they all love Laura, but they can't be with her because that's the number 1 rule.
Well, that's another one of those things that people just accept things very quickly in this film and just move on.
Yes.
And I know the whole thing is like we can't let anybody know about stuff. But what if they did? What if we explored how Laura feels about having more than one husband? You know what I mean? Like she literally sees him at the end. She's just like, doesn't look like anything to me. It's like,
I know.
Well, what was the big deal?
I know.
But there's this whole scene that's like a Mrs. Doubtfire type thing where the Dougs get switched.
Yes.
And then so now this one's with this one, and he's convinced the girl from work that his wife's having an affair. So she thinks that she sees, oh, your wife is with somebody, and it's his clone.
Yeah.
But she thinks it's another guy. That never really blossomed into what it could have been.
No.
And then they end up leaving with the woman they did not come with.
Yeah.
But the scene is just over, and it resets, and we open with Doug coming into the guest room and talking to the clone like, that was weird, huh? How did that resolve?
I have no idea.
That's what we're here to see in a film.
Yeah. I know. And obviously they didn't
what
get
did you
dessert.
spend your $45 million on? Yeah, they didn't get dessert.
But also then I don't think he went to her place. So, but I wonder how that...
Well, this movie has a weird idea about fidelity here because none of the clones who, I think we've established, because they leave and make a pizza place at the end or whatever.
Right.
Their whether they are mourning it or not, their connection to their wife of 15 years or whatever is over.
Yes.
You are not married to that woman anymore.
Right.
But yet none of them get it on. They're always trying to get it on with other women, and they're stopped or interrupted.
Right.
Until they actually get it on with their wife.
Yes.
Which we could talk about in a little bit.
Exactly.
So again, it just feels like you're trying to make a PG-13 family-ish film, and maybe there's lines you don't want to cross. There's ethical questions you want to kind of bring up but not explore.
Right.
But that's what's on sale here.
It is. It's a bunch of ethical questions.
This movie is all ethical questions.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that makes a good comedy, but you can comedically explore. I mean, we've seen other twin plots or something like that where The Parent Trap, a par example.
Sure.
When you think about it, The Parent Trap's pretty effed up.
Yeah, it is.
You do your hair different, I'll wear your hat, and then I will go to New York and live with your family now.
I know.
And you'll go to Nevada or Montana or whatever and live with mine. It's like, what?
I know.
Don't do that.
I know.
Nobody does that. You don't know that you're related.
Right.
They find out later, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, right. That they were separated. You just think that you guys look like each other.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And then it's called The Parent Trap because they're trapping their parents, which is not super healthy either.
No, but it works out okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you think Michael Keaton did?
I think he did pretty good for what they gave him to do.
There was a lot to do.
There was a lot to do. All the clones are very different from each other, so
yeah.
I thought that was well done. 4 is a little...
No, So we were gonna talk about Michael Keaton's performance, but let's talk about the mentally handicapped clone.
Yeah.
This is also probably the last movie where anybody thought it was cool to make fun of
mentally handicapped.
And is it
people.
making fun? I don't know. The guy
It kind of
puts
is.
pizza in his wallet. We're doing a thing here.
Yeah.
I think that this movie has rightfully been relegated to the dustbin of history.
Yeah.
We're just looking at it like a museum piece. I'm not trying to revive this film. Here's my recommendation. Don't see this film.
Right.
They give him the thing where he's the emotional heart of the movie because after everything falls apart. So there's this night where Doug is... I did like the theme about how he goes and he wants to sail.
Yeah.
He's going to sail now.
Mm-hmm.
And he turns out that he's horribly seasick. And so sometimes like these big dreams you have are stupid dreams.
Right.
And it's actually coming home and finishing the extension in the kitchen that you told your wife you were going to like 6 years ago. That's the real dream. Is being responsible to your obligations. I like that. That was fine. But his wife has this night where she sleeps with all three of them. She doesn't know.
Yes.
But then, of course, immediately the next day, things blow up because one of them gets sick or whatever. Anyway, so she has a fight with like all three of them, again, without knowing, which I thought was a nice little thing, except for I went pizza. What? Dumb. But she opens her heart up to Lenny, or Four, the clone with the mental problems. And then later on, Doug sits down with him and gets sort of the whole thing from him.
Yeah.
So they put that in his mouth. So the character needs a reason to exist, I guess, but not super sensitive.
No.
I gotta tell you, just keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. A lot of Beetlejuice in this movie. A lot of Beetlejuice in this movie.
Yeah.
When Michael Keaton does his thing, like he's kind of doing a thing. I thought the effects were fairly impressive. Mm-hmm. That must have been where the $45 million go. Because remember, this is just a 1998 Harold Ramis comedy that features extensive graphics and compositing.
Yeah.
And the only thing is that, a lot of times you get a very static, pulled back shot. Partially because we have to fit four guys in the frame, but also because we need a canvas that we can work on here with our compositors.
Sure.
And I thought that for the most part, they, matched everything. It looks really great. There's a scene at the end where all three of them are in a car. I think that looks pretty good.
Uh-huh.
I guess it's a little easier because it's just like the shoulders up or whatever. Reportedly, they just filmed it all. They had to film it, 3 or 4 times with the same setup.
Oh,
and
wow.
then just kind of had to glue it all together. This was probably really in the early days of that digital compositing. Norman Cates could tell us about that. Should ask him about Multiplicity. There's one scene specifically where he comes in to talk to Doug comes in to talk to Lance, the tough guy clone, and he's drinking beer, and he's like, "You want beer?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay." And he picks up a beer and he kind of throws it back, like overhand behind him, to Michael Keaton, who catches it. In the scene, they did that with doubles, so they had a double stand in Michael Keaton's spot, catch the beer. Then they reset up. Michael Keaton sat on the couch, or flip it around. A double threw the beer, and then Michael Keaton caught it, in the different costume.
Right.
And apparently, the way that he and the stand-in or whatever threw it was so perfect on that they didn't have to do all the digital sort of trickery that they expected to have to do to make the shots match. Like the can flipped exactly the same. And
That's amazing.
in so doing, it saved them dozens and dozens of hours of working on it. They called it the $1 million shot because it saved them $1 million and a bunch of time just because they nailed the action right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny. If there was a shot where I had to throw something into a garbage can without looking,
yes,
I could save them money too.
Yes, you could.
Like Geico, I'm very good at throwing things into garbage cans.
Yes.
Does it translate into on-court prowess? No, it doesn't. But I just decided in 6th grade that I wanted to be a guy who could throw something in a trash can without looking.
I think that's a great skill.
I know I can.
Yeah.
They can clone me and take that skill. They can try. Anything else you want to say about the film? Annie McDowell?
I thought she did a good job.
She did, for somebody who I think we can all agree is not a good actress.
Not really.
I think that she, she's a mom and a woman.
Yeah.
And I think this is in her wheelhouse. I think that this is the kind of role she should be playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a doctor.
Or a doctor.
She can do anything, but I'm just saying. What else? Really didn't like the inclusion of her or of number 4. Also because, all right, so you're doing a thing that's really questionable, but do you have a real idea here? They didn't.
Right.
Because every time he does something really stupid that, Michael Keaton probably improvised, the other clones just go, oh my God. Like they just roll their eyes, and it doesn't ever lead to anything. It's just some dumb, unfunny button on the end of every scene.
Right.
And I remember before we watched this, I had seen it when it came out in the theater, and all I could remember about the clone who wears the ear flap hat is that everybody always rolled their eyes at him. And we watched it again, and I counted it, and it's like 6 scenes end with usually number 1 Doug going, oh boy.
Right.
It's just not funny.
It's not.
No.
Well, there's this one scene where...
How to not Brick Tamlin. They solved that problem in Anchorman.
Right.
With Brick Tamlin, played by Michael Scott.
Yes.
Not his name.
There's this one scene where the clones are all shaving, and number 4 is shaving his entire face.
Well, that was good. It's like, is he all right with that? We take the blade out. He's fine.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. Michael Keaton was originally considered for Bill Murray's role in Groundhog Day, also directed by Harold Ramis.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So this is sort of like, not exactly Groundhog Day-esque, but it's kind of a comedy of manners with fantasy elements.
Yeah, it's true.
There's some other funny people in this. Brian Doyle Murray is in this, as he is in most of Harold Ramis's films. Julie Bowen, young Julie Bowen is in this before she gets to Modern Family, of course. And John Delancey is in this, Q from Star Trek.
Yes.
And also Glenn Shadix is in this. He was also in Beetlejuice. He was Otho in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Another film with Michael Keaton. So, some fun facts. Would you recommend it?
I would not recommend it.
Okay.
It's funny in parts, but it's not necessarily it's not the funniest movie you're ever going to see. It's, it's not a great Triumph by any means.
And we only watch Triumphs.
Oh, yes. But I don't think it's necessarily worth your time, I guess is what I'm saying.
I would agree. I think that, like I said, sort of like a rare animal or bird or something like that, they just don't make them like this anymore, and they usually put that phrase on something really good.
Yes.
But like a piece of architecture or something.
Right.
They don't make them like this anymore for a good reason.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're not really missing a whole lot. There are definitely other films that do this better than this film.
I would agree.
One we mentioned before, Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Macho guy has to deal with domesticity, with a lot of heart and a way more jokes.
Yeah.
Check out Mr. Mom instead. Coming up in 2 weeks on Craft Disservices, I'm excited because next week, and then the week after, we start Theron Back Again. 2 weeks of Charlize Theron with the upcoming release of Atomic Blonde in theaters. We are reviewing next week on Comic Book Club The Coldest City, the graphic novel that was the inspiration for Atomic Blonde. And then I thought we'd do, in 2 weeks on Craft Disservices, a bad Charlize Theron movie. There's more than you'd think. Care to take a guess what it is?
It's not Monster.
No, a bad Charlize Theron movie.
I know. I don't know.
Because you can't pick between all of the ones that exist, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I will let you know exactly what it is. It is Aeon Flux.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Great cartoon. Horrible film, apparently. A very early film, if not the directorial debut of Karen Kusama, who has gone on to become a much better filmmaker than this movie would suggest. But yeah, we thought we'd do a bad Charlize movie, so we're going to watch that ahead of the July 28th release of Atomic Blonde. So next week, Coldest City. Go find that. Check it out if you want to read along with us. And we're doing Aeon Flux, 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
In 2 weeks on Craft Disservices. what you say. Well, that's it. We did it.
Yes.
Things are back to normal.
That's right.
Ish. Sort of. Maybe I won't wake up screaming now, imagining that I'm late to an interview. Or I'm trying to interview somebody with a stick and I don't have a microphone. And I'm like, just talk real loud, okay? Yeah, it's back to the normal pattern. And what a pattern it is. Gosh, there's so much stuff coming out in the future that we are going to talk about and cover. Of course, we've got the Game of Thrones return.
Yes.
We'll be talking about that probably on our next show. So look out for that. Pretty soon we'll have a review of Valerian, City of a Thousand Planets.
Yes.
Probably in 2 weeks. Defenders is coming out in the middle of August, so we'll have... hopefully... Have you given up on the Marvel Netflix shows yet? I'm close. I'm real close. But we'll try to deliver all we can about that. And, of course, things like Blade Runner coming out in October. That's a little ways away. But stay tuned for Just Enough Trope for all the news that's fit to cast in the world of nerdy entertainment, including reviews and discussions of your favorite nerdy movies, TV, comic books, video games. We often cover music on the show. And books. We talk about books.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we got to do a book show coming up in the future. So look for that. In the meantime, look for us on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter if you search for Just Enough Trope. Follow us there. Like us. Comment. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us how you think we're doing. We'd appreciate that. You can also find us on iTunes, on Google Play, Stitcher, and all the places that you find podcasts. Go to those places. Like we'll use iTunes as an example. Go to iTunes, search for Just Enough Trope. You find our show page. When you find our show page, click the subscribe button. Subscribe to the show. It's the best way to get it. It comes to you as soon as it's ready, and you can have it right then. Right? You can clone yourself and send him out to get the show for you and bring it back. But he's kind of a jerk or something like that. And
right.
So you clone another guy who's a little... He's more fastidious about things.
Yes.
Sensitivity is something we didn't really cover all the way in Multiplicity. Insensitive to people with mental handicaps.
Yes.
I like the fact, and they might have been just, he was playing it straight gay.
Yeah.
Like Doug number 3.
Yeah.
Rico or whatever his name was.
Yes.
But perhaps not, because I felt like he was just a guy who liked making sure there was no air in the tinfoil.
Yeah.
And he had a nice, clean, button-down shirt on.
Yep.
And it didn't... In any other movie, they would have played that as just like straight up, just he was gay.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
But they would have been saying there was. And it was fine.
It was fine.
But, I don't know. Still.
Not necessarily the most
Great.
sensitive.
What was I talking about? Oh, that's right. Yeah, going to iTunes and finding the show. When you find us, give us a review, would you? We'd really appreciate that because we love hearing how you think we're doing. And we love hearing that you're out there. And give us a rating, which is the most important part. When you give us a rating, we move up in the ranks. That's the best way that a show like ours can see more people and to get out there and get exposed to more people is if you give us a high rating, we move up in the ranks. And that's how it works. Everybody gets what they want. So give us 5 Doug Kinneys. Can you imagine if there was ever a sequel? Multiplicitor?
Oh, my goodness.
Multiplicity 2? Multiplicate harder?
Yes.
And you get what would the 5th one be? Evil.
Evil
Doug.
I guess
solved it for you.
Evil. Yeah.
He comes in. He's got a goatee.
Of course.
They're like, that's a weird look for you. He's like, I just shaved it off. It came right back. Some kind of genetic default. So don't go with that. Let's just get 5 stars instead. We'd appreciate that. Remember, next week, go find The Coldest City. It's a pretty cool graphic novel. We're talking about that. And I think that's about it. We'll sign off for now. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.
Understand you.